Hey, Alice. I am just setting this up. No, I'm not. There's something, this is not right. Okay, I'm going to leave altogether and come back in again because somehow this didn't set up the way it's. Oh, I know. I came in as a student. Shoot. Okay, I'll be back in a minute, Alice.
Okay, thank you, Professor.
Well, make the announcement. Okay, so we're looking at the child case study, and the key is that we really want to look at the very first paragraph, make sure that we don't lose points on that. We want to just write a nice opening to what this topic is about. Please don't repeat the case study to me. I already know what it is, but you want to put it in perspective of your concerns for child health and statistics to take into consideration. I would recommend writing the opening after the other sections, because then you'll have a good view as to what you're going to be addressing in each of the prompts. For item number 2, the nutrition, you definitely want to use your nutrition calc or your food processor programs to analyze the 3 items. Folks, you want to take into consideration from dietary health, not just your minimum recommendations, but your maximum. You have the child nutrition section for this. And it largely mimics adults' dietary needs or maximums also. For number 3, this is where a lot of people get tripped up, and you really want to consider this is about signs. In other words, about our relationship with food inclusive of environment. So what are the food cues and triggers? Again, food relationship, that's what this section's about. So your behavior, this means your behavior around food. There, in your health, let's see, in your weight management section, this is addressed. And there's also a lot of this being addressed in the overnutrition section. So you really should be looking at both of those because it's applicable to adults and children. So again, 3A is behavior around food, food-related behavior. 3B, physical being. Well, there's 2 things you're looking for. One is anthropometrics, all right? And the second one is active behavior. And when I say active behavior, it means physical movement, okay? Like if you were to describe me right now, you would say that she's seated and she's constantly wiggling around, or she's seated and she's tapping. Right? Those are physical movements, and those can sometimes be reflective of what we're eating. Oh, I think that's called lethargy or excess energy, hyperactive. We want to, and it's also, you want to take into consideration posturing, and I don't mean in terms of like for a fight or my dog in the dog park, but are you seating? Are you standing? Are you walking? Taking those other aspects into consideration about the person's physical being. 3C, folks, the environment. If you have never been to Disneyland, then definitely go online, look up pictures of the park. Look at blog sites talking about Disney. Folks, Disneyland is the most amazing and powerful case study when it comes to food triggers. They have it down to a science. They utilize every trick in the trade possible. And you need to start identifying examples of what those are. So another question people periodically ask is, what do these statements mean, like a minimum of 5 discussion points or a minimum of 10 discussion points? All right, what that means is if you have 15 different points of discussion, let's say for number 3, about behavior, physical being, and environment, if you talk about at least 15 different examples, That's 70%. That guarantees a C. If you increase it, or you're really comprehensive in that discussion, then your points just keep going up. But this is really about observation. Number 3 is observation, my friends. And we want to, part of our relationship with food is not just feeding ourselves, but it's becoming super aware of our environment. And we've been practicing this. That was food marketing number 1. That was food marketing number 2. All right. Let's see. And same goes, by the way, for number 2, where it says a minimum of 10 discussion points. I could tell you there's 10 discussion points in ice cream alone. Just saying. And don't assume that it's necessarily all negative. I mean, you could find some positive value sometimes. And by the way, can someone please out there describe to me what cotton candy is? Because every year I get the weirdest analysis of cotton candy, and I look at the ingredients and I'm like, what are you analyzing? What is cotton candy, folks? Someone say it.
Isn't it just like sugar, basically?
Okay. What do they do to the sugar?
They heat it up.
And then what?
They like whip it together, like it's a bunch of starchy sugars together.
It's sugar, and it's only sugar. They might have dye or a little bit flavoring, but they spin it. They turn it into thread. Okay. But the ingredient really is just sugar. Okay. Just saying. All right. I'm not kidding. I get people coming back saying that it's made of corn syrup, and I'm like, that's called taffy.
Actually, that's a good question. So when I was trying to use it on the food calc, or like the nutrition calc, I don't know which one to like place it under to get a better idea of like the calorie intake. And also I try to Google like the serving size from Disneyland. So I put like 8 ounces when it's like a recommended 2 on like one random one I click. Does it matter which one I choose on the nutrition calc? It wasn't
Yeah.
like ice cream or candy. So I was like, let me ask quick.
Well, think of this. Everything at Disney, they operate under the bigger is better. I think they're Texans deep down. So volumes are large. You guys, if a serving size of soda is, oh God, what is it now? 12 ounces? No, 16. I think they increased it to 16 ounces, which is ridiculous. It used to be 8 ounces. But, if you go to Disney, you're not necessarily going to get a 16-ounce cup. You're going to get a 20-ounce cup. Okay. A lot of the stuff at Disneyland tends to be really big. The cotton candy bag is huge. All right. That is not a serving size, I will promise you. And part of it is they're kind of marketing it for a whole family. But the reality is Americans love value. Half a pound. Not quite sure if it's, well, that's 8 ounces. Cotton candy doesn't actually quite go by the weight. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. It is a lot of air, which is cool, but I think the bigger issue is there is nothing else in it. It's the same idea as if you get a bowl of sugar. Go back to my sugar videos. I have one where they talk about, would you eat sugar packets, whereas you'll drink a soda. It's the same thing. Okay. All right. You guys have some thoughts on here. So half a pound of fluffy cotton candy is huge. Look at the ones at Disney. They are huge. Yes, Samantha, you're correct. They are bigger than the head. The bags are really big. The name of cotton candy is Goofy's Cotton Candy. Nice, Alexa. 56 grams of sugar in a container. They're actually in bags. And Samantha, excellent. And Avery, you found 300 calories in one Disney cotton candy. You know what? Well, 56 grams, please always be present to the fact that 4 calories times 56, let's just round it to 60, that's 240 calories. So somewhere between that 250 to 300 calories, I think is pretty darn on, and that's straightforward sugar, nothing else. No other nutrition. This is why you're taking these apart, is to understand exactly what these parents are eating and what they're feeding the child. Okay. When you talk about behaviors, definitely don't limit yourself Food-related behavior you got to remember is comb through actually, you could even go back and touch a little bit on eating disorders. There's really a lot there, a lot. In Disneyland, oh my gosh, think about your senses: sight, sound, smell. They don't give out free food, so you don't have the taste, but you have a lot that is cueing you to eat there. All right, and that's what you're looking for, is the volume of manipulation, because it happens in everyday life, absolutely everywhere. Okay, number 4, your concerns. These are health concerns, folks, that we're talking about for a child. This is a child case study. Please do not lose your way. This, in this case, I provide for you quality materials to refer to understand what concerns are at hand. We started the conversation back in the child nutrition slides, which means those are your core values. You absolutely should have those. But you also want to look at your resources and see what else could be really impactful on a child when you start to break all this information down. You guys are so, there's a container. Oh, and that store. Oh, good point on the cotton candy, right? I feel sorry for people. This is being recorded. They're probably like, what? Okay, so concerns, again, minimum of 15. That is discussion topics, folks. There are 15 different concerns minimum that you can have. The more effort you apply, i.e. like connecting her dietary choices to metabolic risk factors, that's your metabolic syndrome, to your chronic diseases, really bolsters your points, because you're showing a chain reaction of events, how easy this is to evolve in our lives. Number 5, your suggestions. Okay, we've gone through looking at this family, this scenario, and it is a real scenario that I was observing when at Disneyland, is we now recognize what poor habits are at play, what poor dietary choices are at play, and what they can promote for human health. So like always, now let's figure out, how can we revise the situation? How can we improve it? I want you to take in dietary choices. Be very thorough in your recommendations. Do not forget, please, this is a 2-year-old child we're talking about. Okay, so really you want to be pretty knee deep into the child nutrition lecture to comprehensively look at the situation. Food related behavior. What are positive food related behaviors that can be practiced around food at Disneyland? And yes, by the way, if you're unaware, Disney does allow you to take food and drink, just no glass containers. And then lastly, physical activity. What recommendations do you have for physical activity? This is a case study at Disneyland. Everything's got to take place at Disneyland. Okay, you can bring food from the outside for this topic because it's with you, but everything's got to take place at Disneyland. And then lastly, number 6 is your opinion. I want to know your opinion, your experience in this topic. Maybe you're going to speak to your own children. Maybe you're going to speak to how you were raised. Maybe you're going to speak to your evolving opinions about this topic. What has shifted for you? But I want to hear what you have to say. All right. It is 100 points, folks. Look at that and scope to everything else you've done. This is pretty darn intense because it's comprehensive. You should be applying everything you've learned now in here. It's all coming to fruition. And then when we talk about the final, we're going to step back and review everything we've learned. All right, any questions about the child case study before we look at the final?
It said something as well about how do not submit a singular document.
You rock star. Okay, thank you. Let's go to, nope, not Justin's paper. Okay. Okay, not Raina's paper. Okay, we'll just kindly get out of this page. I want to take you to the child nutrition case study. Okay, hold on a second. assignments. Okay, yes, thank you. I do not want you to upload a full document, please. I need it to be actually segmented according to topic, because what I do is when I go through and grade, I do everybody's response to prompt 1 at the same time. And then I do everybody's response to prompt 2 at the same time. I just go through, because what I'm looking for is consensus of information. When I did the DAP3 project, I had to, believe it or not, I had to curve your grades, because comprehensively I saw consistencies and errors. And I'm not super loving life on those errors, because all the information was in the slides. I kind of feel like some people are just not looking at the slides at all. And hence the errors, but I went ahead and curved that assignment. Okay, child case study prompts. So what you're going to do, how do I preview? Okay, you're going to go in, when you go to submit it, folks, it's broken up, kind of like a quiz. It's broken up into each of those topics, which means that you will go and you will submit your response to number 1 with your references in there on its own. Okay, so you're just gonna, you have it written in a Word doc, you're gonna copy and paste it directly into here. And then when you get to number 2, same thing, you're gonna copy it from your Word doc and paste it directly in here. So here's the one concern, is just make sure your references are with each section, because I treat them as their own individual responses, all right? I'm aware of how they flow into each other, but it just makes grading a heck of a lot faster for me, which is not fast in your world, but in my world it is. All right, so thank you for asking that question. It's broken down into sections.
So I'll just type this down on a document, but like copy and paste it to like each respective section of each question.
Yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah, so like, for example, Alexa, I'm gonna copy your statement about cotton candy, and then I just, oh, it's a preview, it won't let me paste. Oh yeah, it did. Okay, see, I just literally copied the information and pasted it in there, boom. You know, and that's what you're gonna do. And then when you're done doing all your sections, you submit it. And like, it has no, there's no timer on it. So once you open it, it's open all the way through the 12th at 11:59 p.m. My request is that if you are planning on submitting it at 11:52 p.m. and you're having challenges, or you start making edits last minute at 11:59, it will lock on you. And if that happens and you're like, oh my God, I didn't get my last paragraph in, then unfortunately what I have to do is I've got to go back and open it. But when I open it, you have to submit it all over again from the beginning. So either 1, don't do it at the last minute, or 2, if you think that's going to happen, understand we're going to have to start over from scratch. I mean, you'll still have all the information saved in your Word document, but still, okay? Has it happened? Yes, it has. I had someone do that with the final in the spring. It was like, oh my God.
Professor, sorry, is this the final or the case study?
Now, this is the case study, but it's worth a lot of points. All right, do we have any more questions about the case study?
Yes, I do. So I know you want us on like question number 4 to have 15 minimum discussion topics. So like that one's about like the chronic diseases and health issues. Would like each metabolic like risk factor or chronic disease count as a singular discussion topic?
Metabolic risk factor is not a chronic disease. You can use it to build your case for the chronic disease when you make your statement of the chronic disease, but you can't use it in place of a chronic disease.
Okay, so like type 2 diabetes would be considered as one singular discussion topic.
Yeah, because that's a chronic disease.
Okay, so basically it's just 15 chronic diseases that we have to talk about?
There are actually, this is why it's important that you look at the child resources that I provided, because there are other considerations that may or may not be considered chronic diseases. And I will give you a hint. This has to do with mental health of children. So those would be, though they're not a chronic disease, they would be diseases that would develop, just different types of diseases.
Okay, got it.
It's hard. I walk a line between telling you specifics and leaving you guys to figure this out. This is your journey, folks. I'm not gonna, I totally acknowledge this is challenging because you've got to apply information. And if you have any holes in your learning this semester, they're going to come through in your paper if you don't catch those holes in advance. I acknowledge that this can be challenging if you're not familiar with the material, but the bottom line is that if you're able to accomplish this case study, then you understand the material and you understand the application of nutrition in human health, whether it be positive nutrition for a healthy life versus imbalanced nutrition that can really promote diseases. And as much as you look at this as academics, I look at this as your lives, because this is the most applicable course you could possibly have. Everything in here is about you, your family, your friends, and your coworkers. It is a living science. And I just, I really hope, whether it be at the last minute possible or all along, that you really, really understand this information and what it means for you. So if this means some growth pains, then just always know that the more you're forced outside of your box to grow, that is where you do become smarter, stronger, and even in this case, healthier. Okay, any other thoughts on child case study?
Someone in the chat asked what format you want our references in.
Oh, MLA versus APA.
Yeah.
You guys, thank you very much for bringing that up. Avery, sorry, not to disregard that. You guys, I am not a stickler on that. Go with what you typically do for your degree, okay? Either works. I know this is kind of, it doesn't matter to me. I just need to make sure I know where you're getting this material from. So if you want it, you want the citation in the material, fine. And if you want to put it at the end, that's fine too. I mean, where are you going to have the majority of your references? Paragraph 1 and section 3. Section 4, you should be pretty down with the material. 4. How many prompts are there here? 6? Okay, 6, that's your opinion. Oh, 5, sorry. 5 is the one where really this is culmination of knowledge that you guys should really be plugged into. 4 is where you have the possibility of references. 3, I mean, you know what, this is really it should be your knowledge now. If you're going to say you got information from a blog, I'm not worried about that reference, okay? Because Disney is such a standard location, unless someone makes a statement, from like some famous book talking about Disneyland, then you would absolutely have to have a reference for that. I do want to know, just out of curiosity, what program you used for the nutrition aspect, question 2. So just reference, was it Food Esha? Was it Nutrition Calc? Did you use MyFitnessPal? Whatever you use, Chronometer, just please do reference. I know, because I'm really trying to chase those that have weird analysis of information. Okay, any other questions? A simple link or fully formatted? Well, anything that's going to come from the internet is going to have the web source formatting. So and you can, because the resources I give you guys, the calculators are online, everything could be web source, which that formatting is a little bit simpler than a full textbook or journal. Avery, you're cute. You're a stickler for details. Okay. Are you guys all good now if I flip over to the final? Sweet. Okay. All right. Let's see. All right, so if you have not already explored, if you go to the web page and click on your modules, and in the modules go down to module number 7. Module number 7 is your final. You have 3 items there. And Della, my dear, your microphone is on.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. You're sharing with us. All right, you have 3 items here, folks. You have, this is the directions, the CSUF final exam fall 2020 online. Those are the instructions for the final. You've got a part 1 and part 2. Part 1 is short answers where you're going to be writing the answers into the site. When you open that up, like the quizzes, you open it, you can keep it open during the duration of the final exam period next week, which I gave you guys Monday through Thursday night. Okay, so Monday morning, 12:01 a.m. through Thursday night, 11:59 p.m. You can open it and gradually work on the final if you want, or you can, open it up, look at it, cross-reference it to the instructions page that we'll talk about in a moment, and then build your answers in advance and then copy and paste. Either works. The second part is a submission. You build it and you do submit that response comprehensively. So I had to use different formats to be able to I didn't mean to do that. Okay, I want to go to this page. All right, so this is, I opened up, this is the instructions for the final exam. There are, again, 2 parts. Part number 1 is the short answers. So the very first question in that quiz is going to be, thinking back, I want you to reflect on what nutrition meant to you when you first entered at the beginning of the semester. All right, so let's just take a quick peek over here. I don't want to look at that. Okay, opening up. You guys, I have not finished building the final in here. So it really doesn't have anything. So the first one is here. So you would have drafted something that says, I thought I knew it all, but oh, yeah, that was weird by comparison. Okay. Oh, great spelling too. I'm a rock star. So you can, like I said, you can either type it fresh, or I would recommend going ahead and pasting it. All right. Just to save time in your management. And then you're going to have the rest of the questions. I just haven't built them yet. So what are the rest? Okay. Here's the thing. This is a reflection of the foundational materials that you can if you have a profound understanding of all of this, you have got the foundation of human nutrition. Okay. Everything having to do with the diseases and life going sideways is whenever you break the balance of these items. Now, what I have not figured out yet is how to distribute the points across both aspects of your final. That's incomplete right now. I just know it's worth 150 points. Second thing is, there's a lot of short answer questions here, and I've really got to decide what I'm going to keep and what I'm going to cut out. And I just don't have an answer yet. So that's why you got to look at this as a study guide. Okay. I may end up keeping it all. I'm going to do a trial run on someone and see how quickly they answer it. And then I'll decide from there. But the topics that you have is initially looking at the construct of macronutrients for your fat, protein, and carbs. You need to be able to identify how many calories per gram there are for fat, for protein, and for carbs. This is important, folks, because part of this is understanding the energy density or nutrient density of foods in our diet when you know what the caloric is. No, Jonathan, there's no time limit, because once you open the final, you have got all of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday to complete it. Okay. That's
is that
why.
for both parts? Is that for part 1 and part 2?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Part 2, all you're going to do is just upload your document. That one's the easiest. As a matter of fact, honestly, if I were you guys, I would do part 2 first and get it out of the way, and then focus on part 1 because of it having all this little stuff. All right. So no stress.
We're able to go back on. So when you said once we open it, we're able to go back.
Once you open it, you can leave it open. Did you?
Okay.
Any of you do that with the quizzes? No, I had some people, it was kind of funny when I look at my reports. I can see that they opened their quiz at the beginning of the week and they kept it open through the whole week. And as they learned their information, they answered the quiz questions. You guys didn't catch on to that, huh? Yeah, it was interesting to see how different people approach things, but it's the same thing. I did not lock the answers, which means if you upload an answer in the short answers and then you think on it and you're like the next day, wait a minute, I didn't like that, you can go back and change it, okay? So it's a little bit fluid where you can manipulate it as you go along. But come Thursday night at 11:59 p.m., you've got to upload it. You've got to submit it formally, okay? If not, it literally sits there in limbo and then it'll lock and then I have nothing and you have nothing to submit that was in there. I do strongly encourage that if you make any edits during the course of the week, make sure you do them actually on your Word document, because if for some reason your computer ever crashes, the internet crashes, you do not want to lose your work, okay? I've had that happen to a few people and it was traumatic for them, all right? Okay, second to your kcals program, you want to know what the calorie percentage range is for each macronutrient to understand the weight of these nutrients in our diet. Number 3, 1.3, 2 dietary food and or drink examples for each nutrient. So you guys, starting with fat as an example. What would be are you going to give me an example of a fat that's less healthy or one that's more healthy? Okay. I would hope you would choose the more healthy option. So someone please tell me an example of a healthy fat in a food. Sorry, a healthy food with a healthy fat. Avocado, brilliant. Okay, thank you. So for example, then for 1.3, 2 dietary food drink examples for each nutrient. For fat, your first response would be avocado. Your second response would be, what would be another one? A food with a healthy fat. Okay, you guys, wild salmon, Jesse, thank you. Denise, yes, salmon, absolutely. Oh, you're all into the salmon. Hey, you guys, just keep in mind, it doesn't have to, even though salmon is an easy knee-jerk response, always stay present to the fact that fish in general is super healthy for human beings. It's just salmon in particular is very readily available and that it is a rich source of omega-3 fatty acids. But not all salmon is created equal. Coho, which is a very delicate, milder salmon, has much less omega-3 fatty acid in comparison to a king salmon. So it's just, and I'm sensitive to this because this has been coming up a lot in the nutrition world about concerns about the salmon stocks being depleted. So I really want people to start thinking about other fish like rockfish and your different cods as being really great alternative sources. Okay, good. So you would do the same then for protein and the same for carbohydrates. All right, and 1.4, identify the primary roles of the macronutrients. Folks, go back to your macronutrient slides if you don't recall. There are 7 specific roles for fat, which are, there's many roles, but the 7 are the mile high ones that are a good foundation. For protein, you have 6, and for carbohydrates, we focus on 5. So just stay super present to those, please. Numbers, you don't have to go crazy. Or if you end up with 1, there's a problem. You're missing a whole bunch. All right, for part number 2, we're now on to other aspects of the micronutrients when we break them down, specifically having to do with your essential fatty acids that create the dietary triglycerides that we eat, like the omega-3 fatty acids in your fish, your amino acids when broken down from protein, and your saccharides, those are sugars, folks, your fiber, vital for your intestinal bacteria, and your microbes themselves. Speaking of, I had a student who was really cute, sent me a little thing on TikTok about serotonin and microbes, which of course sent me down a rabbit hole of investigating what the latest research is. And it was really intriguing because they were talking about how a lot of serotonin, traditionally, we always looked at serotonin as being produced in the brain with your synapses, but now what they're finding is there's serotonin production in the intestinal tract, which is with your intestinal bacteria. Your intestinal bacteria, the further they get into this research, they're finding more and more information about how it influences even hormone production in the human body. The gut is directing the brain. It's crazyville. So just think, if you take this class in 5 years, you may be learning a whole different understanding of nutrition. It's possible. Though the wheels of science don't move that fast. Okay, so you want to identify what are the 3 essential fatty acids and provide a dietary example of each. I want you to get, where do we get these nutrients from? Because I don't want you going through life saying, oh, I got to eat more MUFAs. Seriously? No, you want to eat the foods that are rich in the MUFAs, because that's what we're shopping for. That's what we build in our meal. 2.2, the common role of each. I think I might take that one out. I know what I was trying to say, meaning basically heart health versus promoting disease, but I just don't like that question. So 2.2, I will probably delete. I will delete. I just have to remember. Hold on a quick second. Let's go to my original, because I said this yesterday and then never remembered to do it. Okay, what did I say? The common role of each EFA. Okay, don't you love this? You're watching your final get delete revised. Okay, sweet. Oh God, where was I? Help me, I've lost my way. Okay. What is the difference between essential and non-essential amino acids, folks? You need to, I just thought of a different one instead of the common role of EFA would be the difference between ALA, the 2 different types of omega-3. Okay, ignore me. It's done. I won't add anything. I promise that. I will not add next semester. All right, the difference between your essential and non-essential amino acids. Are we writing a paragraph? Oh my God, no. No paragraphs, don't do that to me. No, you're writing a brief sentence response, all right? Anyone wanna go ahead and give a shot at, yeah, I know, right? You wanna go ahead and do an example. What is the difference between essential and non-essential amino acids? Who wants to say that in just one succinct statement? Okay, how about 2.4, the difference between complete and complementary essential amino acids? Anyone want to try that one? This would be a conversation for my vegetarians.
I'm just gonna give it a try. So the complementary are just like building blocks for the complete.
Okay, very good. And then what would be, so then what would be an example of complementary essential amino acids?
I do need to study more. It's been
Okay.
a while.
So you guys, we know amino acids are what kind of macronutrient? They're the building blocks of what? Fat, protein, or carbs? What are they? Thank you, Allison, Denise, protein, okay? Go to the protein slides. I have a page on complete and complementary amino acids, okay? All right, 2.5, we're into carbohydrates now. Explain the differences between added sugars and starches. There are differences between the two, my friends, okay? Gotta understand that. So look on this, it was, again, this was been from the carbohydrate lecture. 2.6, explain the differences between simple carbohydrates and complex carbohydrates. Again, from the carbohydrate lecture. 2.7, explain the differences between dietary fiber and functional fiber. I like to refer to functional fiber as Frankenfiber. Identify the type of fiber and food source example in the nutrition label. All right, so you've got to know how to read nutrition labels because it is referenced there. And type of fiber and source example in the ingredients list. All right, folks, the hint is we've got two types of fiber. One type of fiber is in the nutrition label and the other type of fiber is in the ingredients list. The type of fiber determines where it goes. One type of fiber is naturally occurring and synergistic, and the other one is added, like added sugar, okay? You wanna know the difference. You wanna be able to identify those. Let's see, 2.9, identify the 5 functions of microbes and briefly explain each. Microbes have 5 primary roles. That list is growing every day, like serotonin, but we wanna know what those 5 basic functions are for human life because they are profound in our health and well-being. Okay, sorry, I had a freak out moment because I teach another class at 5:30. Okay, and then lastly, the 3 foods with prebiotics and the 3 foods with probiotics. Folks, what are prebiotics? Anybody know what a prebiotic is? Because that was in our lecture. We want to know that. That's really important. Okay, Avery. So yes, Avery and Allison putting it together. Fiber, which is the food for microbes. Those are prebiotics. Pre meaning before. The food that we feed your microbiome is fiber. And folks, it's got to be whole food fiber, preferably. I mean, they can feed off of the other type of fiber, your added fibers. They actually can feed off of both. I just participated in a really great webinar on surgery and gastrointestinal health. And they were talking about the best outcome of surgery is people who actually have fiber in their tube feeds to keep their bacteria alive. Go figure. Again, another interesting statement about how human survival is actually built on your microbial health. It's, oh my God, it's getting so crazy right now in the nutrition world. It's amazing. All right, and the 3 foods with probiotics, that means those foods have the microbes living in them. Now, if they're living in them, that means they've got to be able to feed actively on them. All right, section 3 is your micronutrients. We're breaking it down into fat-soluble vitamins. How are fat-soluble vitamins absorbed? An explanation, folks, when I say provide a brief, I'm being literal because all of this should be really succinct and to the point. Please don't write anything long. I have to grade all this, okay? So how are fat-soluble vitamins absorbed? You know what, you can say this in a very brief sentence. Provide a brief explanation of the function role of each fat-soluble vitamin. Vitamin A is good for blah, blah, blah. Boom, done, okay? It's just because I want to make sure that you understand, for example, that, let's see, you know, that you understand the different roles because they start to, as that team effort, work together. And then one dietary food or drink example for each fat-soluble vitamin. Where can you find these nutrients? Your slides have all this, okay? Your slides have everything. You don't have to listen to the lecture, just open up the slide itself. You've heard the lecture and you'll identify it right away. For your water-soluble vitamins, how are they absorbed? I'm going to tell you one thing that's been driving me nuts lately. You do not need water to absorb water-soluble vitamins, folks. Anyone know why you don't need water to absorb water-soluble vitamins? Yeah, thank you, Denise. Our blood, because our blood is a watery environment. They transfer into the blood because that is the fluid in the human body, okay? Fat-soluble vitamins are a different conversation. They are high maintenance. All right, same game plan, a brief explanation, function, role of each water-soluble vitamin. And then and it's really going to be super easy. And this is why I might play with some of these questions and try to make them a little quicker. Because if you think about it, you've got 5 vitamins that all have really similar roles. So it might be that I might start grouping things just to make it go quicker. But you got to know the foundational information anyway. And then again, the examples. All right, for minerals, I actually chose to focus on the primary ones for human health, where we have the greatest incidences of disease or nutrient loss. Your calcium, your iron, your B12, your zinc, your whoops, I have calcium in there twice. Hey, look, that's one less mineral you have to worry about. And magnesium. Okay, guys, this is fascinating. I looked at all this yesterday and I didn't catch on to this. All right, let's take calcium off the front. Okay, fabulous. Let's find where we were. All right, so calcium, iron, B12, zinc, and yeah, magnesium. All right, a brief explanation of the function or role of each mineral. All right, you guys, what is one of the, there are actually two really powerful things calcium is needed for in the human body. What are they? Two things calcium is needed for the human body. Bone strength, absolutely. That is the most profound because the vast majority of calcium is found in your bones. What is the secondary most powerful role of calcium? This is
it,
huh?
calcium phosphorus pump.
That would be the sodium potassium pump, but I love, thank you, because I really love you bringing that up. That's important. Which means, oh my goodness, that's what's missing.
No, sorry guys.
I am so thankful. You guys, everything in life, you got to remember potassium. Potassium is vital for human life. It is your most powerful weapon against high blood pressure and cause of heart disease and hypertension. Sorry, I had to put that in there. I'm going to have to reload that page for everyone. Potassium, huge, folks. So calcium, muscle contraction and relaxation. Potassium is needed for blood vessel relaxation. Potassium is vital for heartbeat. That's why I've got to have potassium in there. You don't have enough potassium, man, you are on a one-way ticket to heart disease by overworking the heart. So, you know what, as much as you may say, no, I'm going to say, I love you, because you know what, that is part of your power for your health. And where does potassium come from, folks? It was in what? It was in quiz number 9, I think. Your fruits and your vegetables. Everything in life begins with your vegetables. Doesn't end, because some things are really short in vegetables, but potassium, man, so key. Okay, water, a brief explanation of the 4 roles of water. Really simple. It's, your slides are constructed around that. 2 dietary food examples. There are 2 ways we can access water through our food, folks. And we can't get all of it, but we can get like around 40% of it. And 2 dietary drink examples to be able to access our water. Marilyn, what kind of tea? Be careful of this, you guys. So thank you, Marilyn. I'm super appreciative of the fact that you brought this up, because you've got to be cautious, folks. Tea is comprehensive of caffeinated tea and herbal tea. Which one is the one that would be the water source?
The herbal tea.
Herbal, right. Okay, so you guys, really great. Remember, the devil's in the details with me. Never generalize. Tea is too open-ended of a statement. You've got to distinguish herbal tea. So there's one of your examples of dietary drink for water. What's the other one? Herbal teas are called what? Tisanes? I don't know that. And Erica, you are correct, water. You guys, don't overthink this, whatever you do. Well, yes and no, Avery, because what about things like peppermint leaves? That's an herbal tea. Sorry. And what about lemongrass? Well, no, lemongrass. Yeah, lemongrass, the stalk is kind of in a way the leaf. To say, All right, all right, all right. I took the hint. Oh, I love it. You guys are great. All right, phytochemicals, folks. What you're really doing here is 3.1 and 3.2, 5, 1 and 2. I just want two different examples of phytonutrients. So you're going to choose, you're going to go to your list, you're going to find one, you're going to tell me two potentially primary healthful effects, and then you're going to give two food sources that you could include those phytonutrients in your diet. This is the beauty, folks, of your antioxidants, okay, as a great example. And then you're going to provide the same for a second one. Just please make sure that you're choosing, obviously, two different phytonutrients, because life is about variety. Okay, that was part one. Okay, couple tweaks. I got to add potassium here. I took that one statement out, and that's done. And then I just got to think on this, make it your study guide, and it may be the whole thing there, or I might cut it down a little bit more. Part two is the one where you're going to be doing this, and then you just submit the whole document on your own. When you open up, let's go back to this for a minute. When you open up the portal for, let's see, part one, read the instructions for each. Good Lord. When you open up part one, it gives you the link for the instructions that are just for part one. When you open up part two, it gives you the page, the instructions for just part two. But the top link gives you the instructions for both parts 1 and 2. Okay, please be complete on that. You guys are going to be conducting meal planning. Yep, this is where the proof of the pudding comes to place in terms of how do you apply the nutrition in human life. So you're going to construct a breakfast for 3 days. Please do not carbon copy your breakfast every single day. It's got to be unique for each day. Variety is the spice of life, my friends. You are going to construct snacks across the day, lunches across your 3 days, another set of snacks. Your afternoon snacks cannot be the same as your morning snacks. I want 0 duplications. Everything is unique. 3 days of dinners. 3 days in the evening can be either 3 new snacks, or if you're like, you know what, I want some dessert. Then you know what, if that's going to be chocolate cake with a glass of milk, then so be it. Okay, but just be succinct. Tell me what it is. All right. Secondly, once you've developed your meal planning, you've got to come up with your grocery list. What key items do you need to purchase to accomplish that grocery list? Is it going to be, for example, a loaf of whole wheat bread, because you're going to have sandwiches one day, toast another day? Is it going to be Greek yogurt, because that's going to be one of your snacks? What fruits will you want in your diet? What veggies? What are your protein sources? And then other, that's up to you. I'm not expecting you to put every darn little ingredient. Please don't do that. How boring. But if you just have little items here and there that you want to include, like salad dressing, or let's see what else, or chia seeds, that would fall under a different section, whereas almonds would fall under protein. All right, you got to know your food groups to get them in the right box, just saying. And then lastly, label your darn balance plate. Okay, and when you do, when you list number 1 and 2, number 3, 4, and 5, qualify them. So what's number 5, folks?
Dairy.
Dairy. Okay, dairy or non-dairy, depending on who you are, right? But the bottom line is, if you put dairy, be cautious. It's not dairy as a generalized statement. What kind of dairy is it? Is it full fat? No, Jonathan, not whole. It is non-fat or low-fat dairy, folks. Okay, because in the United States, we do not have the lifestyle that warrants full-fat dairy. We do not burn enough calories, okay? Unless I had someone who desperately needed to gain weight, failure to thrive, then I would give them whole fat milk or whole fat yogurt. So preferably a non-fat or low fat. Just keep in mind that dairy, cheese does not fall under the dairy section because it's concentrated and it's a very high fat product. So we'd have to consume way too much cheese to get the calcium from it that we could get from a single glass of milk. If you are lactose free and you just really are opposed to the idea of dairy, then you are more than welcome to say low no fat dairy / soy milk. I'm a soy milk drinker. That actually comes first for me, but mother's milk is a dairy type of milk, right? So I forever will always stand by the fact that we need to acknowledge dairy milk as one of the primaries. And then behind that is whatever milk is appropriate for us, as long as it covers carbohydrates, fats, proteins, and has calcium and vitamin D. All right. I have rubrics for you. They're generalized rubrics. The difference between an A+, 100%, versus a 4 to me is actually 90%. A 3 is 80%. A 2 is 70%, and a 1 is 60%. Folks, sometimes when I generically grade 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. But if someone does, let's say they have a good analysis, mostly accurate, partial understanding of nutrients, roles, food sources, and application, well, a B, that's 80%. But then they have something in there where I'm like, well, you're not totally getting this, but you have some really good nuggets. I might add points to make it an 85% versus an 80. I will have a rubric in place to aid me in this so that it's consistent across the board. But just so you understand the distinctions between great, comprehensive versus good. All right. And what does it mean? The difference between excellent, great, and good is excellent is answering the question exactly what I asked for, versus 4 might be something is missing, or 3 is something is definitely missing, but the response has some reasonable integrity to it. Number 2 is, what are you smoking? Where did you go on that conversation? Because I got to bring you back. You're getting a little out there. Okay. All right, any quick questions, my friends? I will post this as soon as this comes out. I will send this out along with yesterday's discussion so that if you want to compare the two, who knows if I gave one more information than the other, I don't think so. And then tomorrow I'm also going to send in that announcement that I will do another Zoom open discussion tomorrow afternoon to talk about the final, or if there are any additional child case studies questions, and that will be at 1 o'clock. 1 to 2:30, I'll have another session available, open house for people to come and go and ask questions. Okay. Y'all okay out there?
That was
Yeah.
just a lot to take in.
Aren't you thankful at least I share this with you instead of suddenly having you sit down and say, okay, here's your final? I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I despised that when I was in grad school. I don't do that. I don't like surprises.